Hello again, it's Mrs. Hoekstra working on Module 2, Lesson 10 on page 63. Lesson 10 says Understanding Multiplication of Integers. So you'll notice we're going out of the addition and subtraction, and we're now going to head into multiplication and, of course, division. All right. You'll notice my essential question is already set up there. What is another way to think of multiplication? All right. There's two different ways we can think of multiplication, and we're going to talk about one of those today. All right, just so we can kind of have a basic understanding of how this works. While you're writing that essential question, I'm going to talk to you about this game that we're going to play. And yes, we can actually play this game in class, so plan on that happening. But for right now, I'm going to show you and demonstrate how this game works. So what we're going to actually do, you just watch, don't take notes on this first part, okay? I actually have the cards in front of me, and I'm actually just going to draw out some cards. So part A, I'm going to shuffle these cards up, so I'm mixing them up like I would if I was playing, what am I thinking of? Go Fish, there we go. And I'm going to pick up 4, so I've got a 3, I have a 0, I have another 4, and my last card I have picked is -6. 3, 0, 4, and -6. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write those in. You are not going to write this down because you're going to play this game in class. So just watch and kind of see what's happening, and then you'll have an idea of how to play this game when we all get together. All right, so here we go. I picked up a 3, I picked up a 0, I got a 4, and I got a -6. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite those down here in part B. 3, 0, 4, -6, but you'll notice I'm going to rewrite it a couple more times, right? I'm going to put a star on that one. I'm rewriting that one, okay? So now I'm going to answer my questions based off of that part B, okay? I'm answering my questions off of part B, off of those cards that I have there. So it says, write a product that describes the 3 matching cards, right? Write a product, answer to multiplication problem, right? How many of those do I have? Well, I have 3 cards that are all -6s, right? 3 cards that are all -6s. Well, what if I don't want to think of it as that? What if I just want to, like we were doing the integer game earlier, I want to think of the game as just adding those up, right? Couldn't I just say, well, that's really just -6 plus -6 plus -6? That's another way to think of it, okay? So how can I relate those two things that I just wrote there? What we notice is that -6 plus -6 plus -6, that one equaled -18. Well, if I come up here, a +3 times a -6, guess what? It is also -18. All right? So in other words, 3 groups of -6 is the same as -6 plus -6 plus -6. All right? And like I said, we already know that that answer is -18. All right? Write an equation that relates this. So 3 times -6 equals -18. We are going to get the same answer no matter which way I write this. All right, so let's take a look at the top of page 64. I'm going to play the game again. I'm going to shuffle up my cards. Okay, give me a second here. I'm going to shuffle up the cards, make a big old pile, mix them up. Let's see, what do I have? I have a -8. I have a -11. I have a 4, and I have a -1. Actually, I'm going to change that. I'm going to make it 7. Sorry. We're going to make it 7. -8 was my first card. -8, -11, 4, and 7. And again, I'm going to rewrite those. -8, -11. Remember, you are not writing this down. And I'm going to repeat that last digit. Okay, I'm going to put that in there multiple times like that. Okay, why that one? Because that's the one I said. Picking the last one, and I'm going to repeat it multiple times. In fact, how many times did I repeat it? Yep, I repeated it 5 times, right? So this is 5 groups of 7, right? 5 groups of 7. Write an expression that represents how to write each of these with a star cards that change your score. So in other words, 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7, right? Write an equation that relates those two. Well, I could say 5 groups of 7 is equal to 7, 7, 7, 7, and 7. Write an integer, right? Write an answer that represents the total of this part here. 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 is 35. It adds up to 35, right? Write an equation that relates the product. So 5 times 7 is 35. Okay? So in other words, I can think of multiplication as repeated addition, right? Multiplication is repeated addition. Way back in the day when you were learning your multiplication facts back in elementary school, yeah, they started off showing you 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7. And they're like, it's going to take too long. There's this faster way, right? And that's how they teach you guys how to learn how to multiply. It's showing you that it's faster than doing addition. It'll get you there. It's just the long way there. All right, so let's keep going here. It says, use the expression 5 times 4 to relate the multiplication of a positive valued card to addition. So in other words, if I gave you 5 times 4, what would that look like? How many cards would I have to have? I would have to have 5 cards, each worth 4. Right? I need 5 of those. Right? And I know 5 times 4. I know 5 times 4, that's 20. And if I come over here on the right-hand side and add that up, 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12, plus 4 is 16, plus 4 is 20, right? They do actually equal each other. Well, what if I did 3 times negative 5? Let's suppose I had 3 groups of negative 5 cards, right? I would have a negative 5 plus a negative 5 plus a negative 5. I've got 3 groups of negative 5. Well, what's negative 5 plus negative 5? That's negative 10. Negative 10 plus negative 5 is negative 15. Take a guess. What do you think 3 times negative 5 is? Yep, it's negative 15. You guys are so smart. All right, top of page 65. Example 2. Now I want you to start taking notes, okay? You are going to start here. Start taking notes. That whole time you just got to watch me and listen to me. Poor kids. All right, so we have a negative 5, a 4, a 4, and a 4, right? First of all, how much does that equal? How much does that equal? Well, I've got 4, 4, 4. That's 12 minus 5 or plus negative 5 would be what? 7? This is worth 7, right? So if we were playing the integer card game right now, I have 7 points. All right. If all of the 4s from playing the hand right there are discarded, underline, circle, do something to the word discarded, right? Discarded. We're going to remove them. How will the score be affected? Okay. If I'm going to remove them, right, I'm going to take negative 4 and another 4 away and another 4 away. Takeaways. You remember takeaways when you were a little kid, right? I could rewrite that, right? I could take away 3, but take away is negative. Negative 3 of what? 4 cards. Okay? In other words, I want you guys to understand that this is, this says negative 3, right? Negative 3 groups of the 4s. Doesn't really make much sense when you say it that way. So if I said instead of negative, what if I said instead of negative, take away? Right? You're a little kid again. Take away 3 groups of 4. Maybe that makes more sense to you. All right. So if I take away 4, take away 4, and take away 4, I really have taken away 12, right? My score decreases 12. All right. What 3 matching cards could be added to those pictured to get the same change? What if instead of doing take away 3 groups of 4, what if I want to take away positive 3 groups? Or I want to add 3 groups? What if I said let's add 3 groups, but I still want it to be negative 12? I could take away, or I could have 3 groups of negative 4. Right? My cards could have been negative 4s. In other words, I could have had 3 times negative 4. All right? 3 groups of negative 4 would give me the same exact thing. In fact, that's what this next part says. All right, this next part down here, if I have negative 3 groups of 4 cards, of the card, worth 4 points, that's the same as 3 groups of negative 4 cards, of the negative 4 points. Okay? So the key to this that I want us to get, and we're going to write this all down. So this is a little kind of crazy. Adding the same value, multiple times, adding the same value multiple times has the same effect. It has the same effect, aka is equal to, as removing. You're like, hold it, you just said you were adding. Now I'm removing? Yep, I'm going to be removing the opposite. Removing the opposite value the same number of times. Removing the opposite value the same number of times. Okay? Adding the same value multiple times is the same or equal to removing the opposite the same number of times. Okay? All right. Top of page 66. We're almost done. Still taking notes here. Right? We've got, look at these cards. This is the hand that you have. -2, -2, -2, -3, -2, and a 1. So if we're playing the integer game, how many points do you have there? All right? How much is this worth? I got -10. Did you guys get -10? I got -10. I hope I did that right. I got -10. All right. If the matching cards from the plain hand above are discarded, discarded, we're going to remove them. How will this hand score be affected? Right? I'm going to remove all the matching ones. Right? I'm going to remove all the ones that match. All of those are the matching ones. Right? So I'm going to remove is negative, right? I'm going to remove or discard. Discarding, how many? 4 of them, because I have circled 4 of them. And each card is worth how many points? -2 points. Discarding 4 of the -2 card, right? -2 card. What's going to happen to my score? So if you took those out, what's the score now? Score now is what? -2. Right? My new score. The new score is -2. Right? So did my score go up or go down? My score went up. So since the score went up, we're going to have to talk about that. This will cause the score to increase, go up, however you want to write it, it's okay, to increase or go up by 2, but it's 4 times. Right? It went up. In other words, my score went up 8 points. If we're playing the integer game, right, and the whole goal is to get closest to 0, I just got myself a lot closer to 0 by removing those 4 matching ones. Okay? What if instead of removing or discarding cards, I want to add cards and still get the same effect? I can just keep adding cards and adding cards. What else could get me to improve or increase my score 8 points? I could have 4 groups of 2, right? Couldn't I have done 4 groups of 2 and gotten an increase of 8 points as well? Right? So, knowing that, -4, removing 4 groups of -2 gave me a score of +8. Right? My score went up 8. And just a second ago, we said that 4 times 2 also improved my score +8. Well, 8 equals 8, which means -4 times -2 also equals 4 times 2, right? I'm going to get the same answer. Interesting. All right, last thing. Using the conclusions from examples 2 and 3, right? What can we conclude about multiplying integers? Well, so far, we know that the product, fancy way of saying the answer to a multiplication problem, the product of 2 integers, the product of 2 integers is equal to the product of their opposites. Right? The product of 2 integers is equal to the product of their opposites. In other words, look at that problem right above it. -4 and -2, right? If I multiply those, it's the same as multiplying, what's the opposite of -4? +4. What's the opposite of -2? +2. Notice I could take their opposites and get the same answer. All right, so when you come back to class, we're going to play that game and then do the independent practice. I hope you guys have a great evening. See you all later.